What is the biggest plot hole you have ever seen?
In X-Men, Xavier can't track Magneto because of his helmet, but he knows Sabretooth is there with him, so why not just track him?
I love Batman Beyond, Return of the Joker. It's a great movie. However, there's one plot point that always bugs me. The Joker is back in Batman, Terry McGinnis is trying to track him down. He thinks the old Robin, Tim Drake, is working with Joker, so he goes to where Tim works. It turns out to be a trap, and a video of Joker confirms that Tim is in his employ. Batman escapes the trap, of course, and goes back to his Batmobile. Once there, he asks the computer to find the location of the Jolly Jack candy factory because that's where the Joker is hiding. Except, Batman never found anything that told him that fact. He just happens to know at the right time. They could have solved this easily with a Jolly Jack sign behind Joker in the video or something. Instead, it's just we need Batman to go to the Joker so he now knows where the hideout is.
I don't remember the title, but it was a TV show, maybe Brazilian? In the early 2000s. In a scene, some people were having a business meeting on a flying private jet. When they were done, one of the guys stood up, and he was like, "Well, I have to be somewhere else. I gotta go," and he stood up, and walked out of the scene.
In The Butterfly Effect, the entire premise and point of the movie was that tiny changes in the past can drastically change the future. Yet, while in jail, the main character went back in time to stab his hands so that he would have the stigmata on his hands to scare someone. This made zero sense in the context of the movie, and what was a complete asspull that went against the entire rest of the movie. Fallout 3 before DLC, having to die instead of having your super mutant friend handle the massive radiation.
The Little Mermaid. Ariel can write. She could have just wrote it down for Eric. No miming involved.
In the volleyball scene in Top Gun, Maverick is the one who has to cut the game short, but Goose is the one who is ridiculed by Iceman.
I've only seen it once, so maybe I'm way off. But in Suicide Squad, wasn't the whole plan to get all those fools out of lockup? You go do some big helpful things, help win wars or whatever. Then it got all jammed up when they had to fight the other wackos that got released. Then after it's all done, they just toss them back in the clink without ever having done what they originally brought them out to do.
Everything about Ant-Man. He conserves mass when he is small and punching and falling, but not at any other times. When he is huge, he should hit like styrofoam. When he is small, he should still crush shafts.
In Avatar, they can control biological organisms from a distance, but not one military vehicle is controlled via remote.
How did Zma and Kronk get back to the lair before Kuzco and Paka?
How did Motor figure out that Miles Axelrod was behind the crashes in the World Grand Prix in Cars 2? Bolt types, leaking oil, and an assumption of an engine don't cut it for me. I need more details. In Monsters Incorporated, Mike told Sully, "You've been jealous of my good looks since the 4th grade, pal," but in Monsters University it shows them meeting for the first time. In college, why doesn't Harry Potter use his magic to cure his eyes so he doesn't have to wear glasses?
All Dumbledore had to do was get the Ministry to check Sirius Black's memories and they would have known he was innocent. Especially since at that time he had a lot of influence in the Ministry. It was said by Hagrid in the first book that people had been wanting Dumbledore to be minister for a while.
How did Cypher get in and out of the Matrix to meet with the agent on his own? The Lost World, Jurassic Park. The scene of the boat with the T-Rex arriving at the harbor. With the edits and scene cuts that were made here, this scene makes zero sense. How did everyone on board die? What killed them? The Rex is in the hold and clearly didn't get out. Even if it had, how did it get to the crew on the bridge without completely destroying it? Supposedly there were raptors on the boat as well, but this bit was cut from the final print, yet the aftermath of their presence is left in the film? Why, me looking completely different than everyone in my family and having no baby pictures until age 3.
The movie After Earth by Will and Jaden Smith. The blind monster locates its prey by smelling fear, then why not just wear an airtight suit? Why are they using a shape-shifting sword and not guns to kill the monster? When Jaden was on Earth, He had to suck on those biscuit-shaped things that have concentrated oxygen because apparently the planet is now low on it, and yet he's literally surrounded by a goddamn jungle thriving with animals.
How SpongeBob managed to have his own home with a garden, a massive library, sunroof and other extremities and still manage to afford boating school given that Mr. Krabs is extremely stingy.
The 2009 Star Trek reboot. Romulan that traveled back in time over a century is angry that the Federation, Spock took too long to save Romulus from a supernova in the future. All he needed to do to fix the problem is be like, hey guys, this thing goes nova 120 plus years from now, better get a head start. Second, in the same film is Kirk ending up marooned on an ice world. Not only does this planet just happen to have old Spock also on it, but he lands within hiking distance from him and randomly finds him. Out of an entire planet.
In every single Christmas movie where the parents don't believe in Santa, who do they think is putting presents for their kids underneath the tree? The parents know they didn't buy them. If we existed in a world where Santa was real, it would be an undisputed fact.
Milan. What happens when people failed to pass the physical tests? They got sent home. So what would have happened to her father? He would have been sent home.
Palpatine doesn't die and somehow gets a fleet of 1,000 Star Destroyers.
I'm sure someone else will say this too, but in Aladdin, his first wish was make me a prince, then he makes a grand princely entrance. Then for the rest of the movie, he's struggling with the fact that he's a beggar and not a prince but the most powerful being in the universe, with itty-bitty living space, made him a prince. So how is he not a prince?
In the movie Face Off, Nicolas Cage escapes from a prison that is on an oil rig in the middle of the ocean. Yet they never show you how he gets away from the oil rig, only that he jumps off the rig and the next scene he is on land, in a new set of clothing. Namek will blow up in 5 minutes.
In Dark Souls 2, you raid a windmill in a poisonous swampy valley. The windmill is the tallest thing in the area, and there's nothing above it. You climb to the top and defeat the boss there, and then enter an elevator that takes you straight up. Somehow you end up in a castle sinking into a lava-filled wasteland.
Jask, you're not aging or changing his clothes in 22 years.
Are too late to reply to this. But for me, it's definitely that bit in Gravity where one astronaut floats away from another astronaut after letting go of the rope cable without any momentum pushing them in that direction. The film is called Gravity. They're in a zero-gravity environment, and the momentum is conjured out of nowhere. For a film that had a huge amount of technological detail in some aspects, this sure was a really bizarre and bafflingly stupid moment.
When Scarlet Witch just gave up on her Russian accent halfway through the MCU movies.
I love it, A Quiet Place, but one of the things that bothered me the most from that movie was that they were facing a race of monsters that had super hearing, and they made it seem like the top scientists were working on how to combat them. However, nobody was able to find a frequency that they were weak against until some dude stumbled upon it accidentally. It was a great movie that I was glad to experience in theaters, because it was unique, but I still just found that hard to believe. Also, there was that whole scene with a waterfall. Like, why wouldn't you just make your home base someplace like that where noise is naturally generated to mask your own?
The Dark Knight Rises. Take your pick. I personally find it awfully convenient that basically the entire police force of Gotham is sent underground.
In Home Alone, if the phone lines were down, how did he order that pizza?
The Office. Dwight takes Angela's baby's DNA to be tested and waits for the results. He is told it does not match, so the baby is not his. Later on in the series, Angela admits the baby is Dwight's. No explanation about the DNA testing place, saying it wasn't.
In the Sandra Boynton classic Hippos Go Berserk, the 6 hippos who are quite distressed at the 7 hippos moving west are never shown leaving the area of the house they all go berserk at. Therefore the one hippo who is all alone can't be all alone.
In episode 2F09, when Ishi plays Scratchy's skeleton like a xylophone, he strikes the same rib in succession, yet he produces 2 clearly different tones. I mean, what are we to believe, that this is a magic xylophone, or something?
The one that Andy Dwyer fell into next to Ann Perkins' house.
In The Simpsons, the 6th season, 201 greyhounds, How did Mr. Burns get from his upstairs bedroom down to the laundry room faster than Bart and Lisa who were sliding down the laundry chute? Boy, I hope somebody got fired for that blunder. Time Turners in Harry Potter. Even if we assume a closed destiny loop where you can't change the past, think about how many mysteries in the series could be solved just by observing the past. Who opened the Chamber of Secrets? Time Turner. Did Sirius Black really kill all those people? Time Turner. Is Voldemort really back? Time Turner.
Jurassic Park. We spared no expense except when it came to backup generators for the electric fences that contain massive predators.
The timeline of that 70s show?
Not sure if it's been mentioned. Decided to run through the Final Destination movies on Netflix. In third one there was a pretty big one. Her vision of the roller coaster crash involved a camera falling onto the track and causing a faulty hydraulic cable to break, causing the crash. When people get off of the coaster, the guy with the camera gets off. Coaster still crashes.
All of the sitcoms where people are living way above their means. People with mostly part-time jobs having huge city apartments or really nice houses in expensive areas.
2 from Doctor Who. How is the Statue of Liberty a weeping angel if it's copper? It's only a weeping angel if it's stone. Why doesn't the TARDIS translator translate Alonzi to Let's Go? Not really a huge plot hole, but in Back to the Future 3, they can't use the DeLorean that Marty has taken back to 1885 as an arrow has punctured the fuel tank and the fuel has leaked everywhere. Why can't they patch up the tank and use the fuel from the DeLorean that Doc was in and subsequently buried for Marty to find in 1955? Also, after Mad Dog Dannon was arrested, why was there still the rush to get back to 1985? The only reason there was this rush was because of Doc's imminent death, so with Tannen out of the way this wasn't the case anymore, so they had no need to get the 8 o'clock train.
Zombies can't unlock doors. Dudes, stop running. Just lock a door every once in a while.
This is from 19 years ago, but in Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone, at the beginning he's shown as a baby with a scar and his parents were dead when he was given to his uncle, aunt and cousin. Later on he's shown as a toddler with his parents still alive without the scar when Voldemort attacked them.
The movie Signs. The aliens are allergic to water. They landed on a blue planet with water in the air. You can travel across unknown galaxies and you choose a planet that has your poison in the air? We wouldn't fly to a lava planet that rains lava where they drink lava and there's anywhere between 10 to 100% lava humidity, with lava clouds floating around. Stupid.
Independence Day. They load a virus to the alien mothership, on a USB drive. How convenient that aliens uses the same ports as we do, and have the same system as we use, Windows, Linux, whatever.
In Toy Story, Buzz Lightyear always freezes like the other toys and lets himself get played with, yet still believes he isn't toy. If he thinks he isn't toy, why does he freeze? Avengers Endgame broke the very rule they previously established when Cap was waiting with the shield at the end. Sending him back and staying would have created a new timeline, not changed the present one. Russo brothers have admitted sending Cap back would create a new timeline. If Cap were to go back into the past and live there, he would create a branched reality, Joe explained. https://www.google.com/app/s/u.com/movies/2019/04/30/Avengers Endgame Russo Brothers Captain America/amp/.
In the movie The Room, Claudette at one point gets diagnosed with breast cancer. The movie just never seems to mention it again, and I hate that they have left that as unfinished business. I have watched the movie over 10 times already, but I just cannot figure it out. Am I missing something? Please help me clarify this, it is driving me crazy.
The TV show Heroes, it's like freaking Swiss cheese.
I swear. Every episode of those shows where a couple goes to buy a house. Jack works part-time as a 7-Eleven clerk, and his wife Lisa sells handmade macrame belts made from old typewriter ribbons at the flea market on Sundays. They have a home buying budget of $650,000. It's not a big plot hole, but I've always wondered in the second season of You how Joe got his glass box from New York to California. Can you disassemble it into a bunch of pieces and then carry it to a moving van?
One that always comes to mind is the T-Rex scene in Jurassic Park. When the T-Rex first breaks out, it just walks out of its enclosure after snapping all the electrical lines that have been shut off. However, at the end of the scene when it's pushing the Jeep off the ledge, it's a huge drop-off. It's still one of my favorite movie scenes of all time, so it's an easy one to forgive.
If Doctor Strange had the ability to open up portals across the universe in order to gather everyone for the final battle in Endgame, why didn't he just open a portal when he, Tony and Peter were on Thanos' planet back to Earth before Thanos arrived, grab Vision and run away, giving the others enough time to come up with a plan to defeat Thanos? Minor plot hole from Endgame: they were able to find Thanos in the middle of space with countless number of planets, but they couldn't find Clint on Earth. Would it have killed the writers to put in a minute-long earlier scene of maybe Rogers going, "We found Clint," and Natasha going, "Leave him be. He has stuff to work out," on Friends? Why doesn't Ross simply eat the other, smaller friends?
In Old School, Mitchapalooza takes place on a Thursday, signs, and Darcy has class the next day, but Frank says he can't drink because he's got a nice little Saturday planned for the next day. Literally unwatchable after that.
Not the biggest plot hole ever, but I remember watching Victorious and Kat complained about not having a date to prom even though Hollywood Arts has never had a prom.
2015 Biff would never return to the good 2015 after giving 1955 Biff the almanac. He would return to the bad 2015 where he's king. In the Maze Runner series we see that in the end they had taken blood from Thomas and mixed it with something, and that's the cure. But then why were they put in the maze? It makes no sense whatsoever. In the books it fully explained that Thomas had a blueprint to the cure in his mind, and rather than killing a bunch of people they decided to test them. The last two Maze Runner books have an entirely different plotline than the movies, and you can see just how much better they actually are. Citizen Kane. Kane whispers, "Rosebud," to an empty room, dies, and then the nurse walks in to find him. The whole premise was the reporter trying to understand his dying word in the lens of his hidden past, and no one ever heard the dying word.
Chitty in The Good Place, who says he is speaking French but the neighborhood has a filter for language, but then speaks English when he gets back to the real world.
Hiding Darth Vader's son from him. By keeping his original surname, on the planet he grew up on, being watched over by his old nemesis who kept his last name and first initials.
In the movie Die Hard, when the terrorists drive their box truck into the garage, all of the men and the equipment get out of the back of the truck. Later in the movie, towards the end, the black guy drives an ambulance out of the back of the box truck. There is no way the ambulance could have been in the truck.
In Fantastic Beasts: The Crimes of Grindelwald, Credence is supposed to be the unknown brother of Albus Dumbledore, yet due to Credence's age he would have been born after both of the Dumbledore parents would have died.
In Limitless, why doesn't Bradley Cooper just pay the mobster back right away? Would have avoided tons of trouble.
This is actually pretty good. I haven't thought about that yet. If I remember correctly, he even mind controls Sabretooth briefly.
I love Batman Beyond. It's one of those series I wish they'd revisit. But I also really don't want them to. They'd probably screw it up. I had always guessed that they had the Batcomputer analyze footage of the hovercar used at the gala heist. The signs along the side were damaged, but with the clown rear end, it would have been easy enough to look for clown-related businesses, past and present, with a J at the beginning, a Y in the middle, and a K at the end. In reality, there was a scene that was cut, probably for cost and time, that would have helped explain the connection to the Jolly Jack factory. I think there was also a scene where Joker is taunting Batman while eating candy. The label on the candy jar could have given it away. Of course, we all know that when the Joker grabbed Bruce's lapel, he left behind trace amounts of candy shell, and it was analyzed to find the source. Any of those could have helped this plot hole, but budget limits are a pain.
He knew because that's where the Joker ending happened to Tim Drake and it's where he would be. He was probably just the pilot, had to get back to work.
Maybe he went to the toilet.
He used the parachute and went for a dive.
You haven't been in a meeting where you'd prefer to plummet 30,000 feet to your death than listen to any more?
Was it a reimagining of the D.B. Cooper story?
I've had meetings like that. He had to return some movies. I hated that part. Every time he changed something, he woke up different, and everyone knew that the shit was already the way it now was. But that one time, his hands change for super religious dude to see. Yeah, okay.
I agree, but I'm laughing at went back in town, like he just strolled to the market to mutilate himself.
Unlike a lot of plot holes in these types of threads, this one actually is a plot hole, because it's more than something that just strains the credulity of people in the real world. It actually contradicts the film's logic.
Even if the present somehow worked to the same place, the other dude who saw his hands would have seen the scarred version and wouldn't question it in the slightest. Hey super mutant immune to radiation, can you please push this button for me? I may die in the process. You fucking coward. Thank you, Todd.
Same with Karen. And the Mr. Gutsy. Even with the Fixed It DLC, all the characters and the narrator himself call your character a selfish coward asshole for asking your friend to do you a favor that won't harm them whatsoever, so that you don't have to die needlessly. Fallout 3's main quest was pretty dumb. I love that game, it holds a special place in my heart, but it blows my mind that so many people remember the story as being a strong point. It sucks, as close to objectively as something like writing can be objective. Or your ghoul friend who also is nearly immune to radiation. Or your robot friend who is absolutely immune to radiation. All three decide it is your destiny to die pointlessly and painfully from radiation. It's not even guaranteed death for the player, except plot reasons. I went in there with a metric fuckton of Radaway and Rad-X, and I was staying well ahead of the radiation exposure until I just fell over dead for no fucking reason.
Same, that is stupid. He legit follows you in and can one-shot a lot. He easily could save you.
In the DLC he still judges you super hard for asking him to do it.
Well, that's assuming they wrote the same language and that Ariel can do more than sign her name, that bastard. Hopefully Maverick is able to defend Goose's honor in the new one.
And why did 6 feet 5 inches Anthony Edwards keep setting up 5 feet 7 inches Tom Cruise to spike the ball?
That's the plot hole? Maverick spiking is the fucking plot hole in that scene. What, did he have a stepladder?
Greater than what am I going to do? Get a bunch of criminals together to fight criminals? That's a stupid idea. Lego Batman.
The real plot hole of that movie was how that script ever got approved.
The point of the Suicide Squad was that if Superman decided to rip off the roof of the White House and kidnap the president, they needed to be ready to stop him. And what exactly would any of them have done to stop Superman? None of their unique features would do anything to him. Maybe Deadshot would shoot him with a kryptonite bullet or something? Are you telling me that no one in the Secret Service can shoot a rifle? Waller, I did loads of research on these motherfuckers, know everything about them. Literally all their strengths and weaknesses. Deadshot, cool, so you're aware I don't shoot women. Waller, yeah, of course, it would be a huge oversight not to know that. Waller, kill that woman. Deadshot, no? Waller, Question mark.
You're not wrong. Also the plot hole that these are overpowered magical beings, so let's send in a bunch of dudes with no powers, a chick with a bat and the only one who has superpowers has fire control. Also if a bomb can work, as shown, then why didn't the Air Force just airstrike the place out of existence?
Worse, the black monsters looking like stuntmen in tarred ghillie suits they just fucking disappear when they die. Like in the elevator. They dematerialize? But then in other scenes they don't? God, that movie was fucking awful. Waste of potential. And my god, when did Will Smith just sort to give up?
I've heard people say that Pym Particles in the MCU is just Hank Pym accidentally tapping into the Doctor Strange magic stuff. would certainly explain all the physics-defying stuff. Edit. According to this theory, Pym also doesn't know that it's magic. Also, if Pym particles are reducing the distance between atomic nuclei and electrons, they shouldn't be able to allow a human to shrink to subatomic levels.
That is only because you actually have some real scientific knowledge. This is one of the biggest issues with all shrinking and expanding plots: conservation of matter.
Like we have drones now.
By all accounts, it doesn't make sense.
How did we, Kronk?
At one point, they literally fall into a plot hole. Well, according to the map, it's impossible.
Thank you for watching. We publish amazing Reddit stories every day. If you are new to this channel, please subscribe to keep the dog smiling.